She grabbed the wrong luggage at midnight. The business card inside revealed the owner was a hidden millionaire. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. Midnight at the nearly deserted airport always had a strange kind of silence. Too quiet for a place built on movement. Too bright for a moment when everyone just wanted to sleep. But Mia Rowan didn't have that luxury. Her double shift had ended barely an hour ago. Her backpack strap was digging into her shoulder, and the only thing keeping her upright was the thought of getting home before the last bus at 12:45 a.m. Fluorescent lights washed over the baggage carousel as the belt creaked and sputtered. Suitcases thumped onto the rubber one by one. Mia rubbed her tired eyes and whispered, "Come on." Black suitcase, blue tag. Her breath trembled a little. If she missed the bus, it was a 40-minute wait in the cold, and her worn jacket wasn't built for that kind of night. Then there, a black suitcase slid out, same size, same scuffed corner, same bluish tag. "Finally," she muttered, grabbing the handle and lifting it off the belt in one exhausted motion. It was heavier than she remembered, but fatigue blurred the warning signs. Mia didn't notice the tiny gold initials on the side. She didn't notice the leather grip that was nothing like her thrift store handle. She didn't notice anything except the time blinking on the giant airport clock, 12:39 a.m. She sprinted toward the exit, dragging the suitcase that definitely wasn't hers, crossing the empty terminal like someone trying to outrun her own bad luck. The bus wheezed to a stop just as she reached the curb, the doors hissing open. 5 minutes later, Mia collapsed into a seat, hugging the suitcase like it was just another burden she was too tired to question. Only when she reached her tiny studio, barely big enough for a twin mattress, a second-hand dresser, and a stack of art supplies, did she unzipped the suitcase. The lid opened with an expensive-sounding glide. Inside were neatly folded dress shirts worth more than her entire monthly rent, a sleek silver watch resting in a velvet pocket, and a small black envelope. "What?" she whispered. Her pulse kicked. She reached into the side compartment and pulled out a single, pristine business card. Heavy paper, embossed letters. No logo, just a name that looked like it shouldn't be in the same room as peeling wallpaper and a flickering overhead bulb. Ethan Vale. Vale Holdings. She swallowed hard, the air suddenly too thin in her cramped apartment. Ethan Vale wasn't just any name. She had heard it before, on news headlines above gleaming skyscrapers, whispered by customers in the cafe when talking about mysterious money people, and printed on the sponsorship wall of the city's biggest art gala. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Oh my God, I stole a millionaire's luggage." She didn't mean to. She couldn't afford to. But the wrong suitcase was sitting in her room, and her real one, the one holding her sketchbook, the portfolio she needed for her scholarship interview next week, was somewhere out there, halfway across the city or halfway across the world. And she had no idea how to fix any of it. What she didn't know, not yet, was that this tiny midnight mistake, this stolen suitcase and a business card glowing under a cheap lamp, was the beginning of the biggest turning point in her life. Morning sunlight leaked through the thin blinds of Mia's tiny studio, turning the dust in the air into floating, golden particles. She sat cross-legged on the floor, the millionaire's suitcase open in front of her like a crime scene she had accidentally created. Her real suitcase, with her sketchbook and the only portfolio that mattered for her scholarship interview, was gone. Her hands trembled as she stared at the business card again. Ethan Vale. Vale Holdings. A name too heavy for her small apartment. She whispered, Okay, Mia, think." She grabbed her cracked phone and dialed the number on the card. The first ring filled her chest with hope. The second ring made her sit up straighter. The third ring made her breath catch. Then a robotic voice. "The mailbox is full. Please try again later." Her forehead fell against her knees as a soft groan slipped out. Perfect. Just perfect. She needed a plan. She needed her sketchbook. Most of all, she needed to not look like a thief when she tried to return this suitcase. After splashing water on her face and tying her hair into a messy ponytail, Mia changed into the cleanest shirt she had. She stuffed the business card into her pocket like it was a lifeline and lugged the heavy suitcase down the narrow stairwell. At the bus stop, a man glanced at her struggling and said, "Looks heavy." She forced a smile. "It is. Not even mine." He laughed, assuming it was a joke. She wished it was. 30 minutes later, the bus dropped her near the luxury hotel that matched the small address printed on the card. The Vale Grand. A place with marble floors so polished she could see her reflection, and ceilings so tall she felt like she had walked into a cathedral made of money. She hesitated at the entrance, clutching the suitcase handle. Her sneakers were too worn. Her backpack strap was fraying. She did not belong in a place where even the doormat probably cost more than her weekly paycheck. But she needed her luggage, so she pushed through the glass doors. The lobby smelled like vanilla, leather, and privilege. A woman at the front desk smiled professionally. "Good morning. How may I assist you?" Mia cleared her throat. "Hi, I think I grabbed the wrong luggage last night, and I believe it belongs to someone staying here. I need to return it." The woman's smile tightened slightly, noticing the suitcase brand. "May I have the name of the guest?" Mia slid the business card across the desk. The woman's eyes widened just enough to betray recognition. "Mr. Vale." She typed quickly. "He is not currently in his suite. However, I can notify his assistant that you are here." "Assistant?" Mia repeated, feeling her stomach drop. Before the receptionist could answer, a voice behind Mia said, "Excuse me, are you the one with Ethan's suitcase?" Mia turned. A woman in her 30s, sharp suit, sharp eyes, sharp energy. "I am Claire, Mr. Vale's personal assistant. Please follow me." Mia swallowed hard and pulled the suitcase behind her, shoes squeaking slightly on the floor. Claire led her to a private lounge with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Mia had never seen a view like this except in magazines she could not afford. Claire crossed her arms. "May I ask how you ended up with Mr. Vale's belongings?" Mia felt her face flush. "I grabbed it by accident at the airport. Mine looks almost the same. I swear I did not know it was his." Claire studied her with an unreadable expression. "Do you have his card?" "Yes." Mia pulled it out and handed it to her. Claire nodded once, then said, "Mr. Vale will want to handle this personally." Mia blinked. "Personally? What?" Claire sighed as if debating what she could reveal. "Because," she said slowly, "Mr. Vale is very particular about his privacy. And last night, something of his went missing that he cares about deeply." Mia's heart stopped. "My sketchbook," she whispered. Claire stared at her. "Your what?" Mia's voice cracked. "My sketchbook was in my suitcase. If we swap luggage, he has it." Claire's expression softened just slightly, as if she was seeing Mia for the first time. "Then I suggest you wait. Mr. Vale values things with meaning." Mia exhaled shakily, feeling a new fear sit heavy in her chest. Because if Ethan Vale had opened her suitcase, he had seen every sketch, every dream, every corner of her heart she had never shown anyone. And now he knew exactly who she was, long before she would ever know him. The private lounge felt too quiet, too polished, too sharp for someone like Mia, who sat clutching the handle of the suitcase as if it were the only solid thing in the room. Her heart thudded in the stillness, each beat reminding her that somewhere inside this glass tower was a man who had accidentally taken her entire future in the form of a worn, paint-smudged sketchbook. Claire stood by the window, checking her watch with the kind of calm that came from living in a world where everything always worked out. "Mr. Vale should be here any minute," she said. Mia nodded, though her throat was tight. She tried to keep her hands still, but the nerves made her fingers twitch. If Ethan had seen her drawings, what would he think? They were personal, raw, messy pieces of her life. They were all she had. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. Just when she began to think she should leave and write him a message instead, the door opened. A tall man stepped inside, hair slightly tousled. From rushing, wearing a charcoal coat that looked impossibly expensive yet perfectly understated. His eyes, a deep stormy gray, landed on her, and the air shifted. This was Ethan Vale. He looked nothing like the stiff boardroom photos she had seen online. He looked human, tired, even. But his presence filled the room overwhelmingly. "Mia Rowan?" he asked, his voice low and warm. She stood quickly, nearly tripping over her own sneakers. Yes, that is me. I am so sorry, I grabbed your luggage by accident. I swear it was not intentional." He gently raised a hand, stopping her apology. No need. It was a mistake. These suitcases are nearly identical. He walked closer, stopping a few feet away. But I believe I may have something of yours. Her breath caught. My sketchbook. Ethan nodded slowly. Yes. I opened the suitcase thinking it was mine and found it on top. Her stomach dropped. You saw it? His expression changed, softening around the edges. I did. And I hope I did not invade your privacy. I realized quickly it was not something I was meant to see, but it was remarkable. Mia blinked, stunned. Remarkable. Your work, he said quietly, is alive. Honest. It feels like the world through the eyes of someone who still believes in beauty even when life makes that difficult. Her lungs forgot how to function. No one had ever spoken about her drawings like that. Not even the teacher who wrote her first art recommendation letter. Claire, watching from the corner, looked surprised as well. Ethan continued, I brought it with me. He reached into the sleek messenger bag on his shoulder and carefully pulled out her sketchbook, placing it in her hands with a gentleness she did not expect from a man whose signature could move millions of dollars. The moment her fingertips touched the worn cover, relief washed over her. Thank you, she breathed. I have an interview next week. A scholarship review. I really needed this. Then I am glad it found its way back to you, Ethan said. You have real talent, Mia. You should not stop. She felt heat rise to her cheeks. Compliments were not something she knew how to hold. I try. I work a lot, but I try. He hesitated for a moment, studying her, as if piecing together the limited clues she had unknowingly left behind in her art. Life has not been easy for you, he said softly. She stiffened at the accuracy. No, but I am managing. You are doing more than managing, he replied, his gaze steady, almost grounding. You are fighting for something. I can see it. Her chest tightened. How could someone she had never met see her so clearly? Shepard, the assistant, stepped closer. Mr. Vale, your 11 o'clock is waiting. Ethan did not look away from Mia. I know. He turned back to her. Mia, may I ask something? She swallowed. Yes. Do you have time tomorrow morning? The question startled her. For what? To return your suitcase, he said with a small, almost shy smile. And perhaps to talk, even if just for a few minutes. I owe you that much for the mix-up. Her heartbeat fluttered like something confused between fear and curiosity. Yes, she answered before her mind could overthink it. I can make time. For the first time that morning, Ethan's smile reached his eyes. Good. Then I will see you tomorrow, Mia. She clutched her sketchbook tighter, unaware that this one simple promise would pull her into a world she never imagined could include someone like him. The next morning arrived faster than Mia expected, and with far less sleep than she needed. She kept replaying yesterday in her mind. Every word Ethan had said, every look in his eyes, every moment she feared she might wake up and realize it had all been a dream. Her sketchbook lay beside her pillow, like a rescued treasure she was afraid to let out of her sight again. By 8 a.m., she was standing outside the Vale Grand once more, clutching the strap of her worn backpack. She had dressed as neatly as she could, choosing a soft blue sweater that did not have any paint stains and jeans without rips. She still felt completely out of place when she stepped through the towering glass doors, but she reminded herself she had a reason to be here. Ethan had asked to see her. She approached the front desk, and before she could speak, Claire appeared from the hallway. The assistant looked surprisingly less stern than yesterday. Ms. Rowan? Mr. Vale is expecting you. Please follow me. Mia nodded, nerves fluttering in her stomach like restless birds. Claire led her through a quiet corridor and into a private cafe attached to the hotel, a warm space with dark wood, gentle lighting, and the smell of fresh coffee. Ethan was seated near the window, sleeves slightly rolled, a cup of coffee in front of him. He looked up the moment he sensed her presence, and something softened in his expression. Good morning, Mia. Her breath hitched slightly. She hoped he did not notice. Good morning. I hope I am not late. You are right on time, he said, standing to pull out a chair for her. No one had ever done that for her before, certainly not a man like him. She sat down carefully, placing her backpack at her feet. Ethan returned to his seat. Would you like something to drink? Coffee? Tea? She shook her head. Water is fine, thank you. A server brought her a glass within seconds, making her feel even more aware of how far this world was from her own. Ethan rested his forearms on the table and spoke gently. I want to thank you again for bringing my luggage back. I also want to apologize if finding your sketchbook inside caused any distress. It was not my intention. She shook her head quickly. No, you were kind. You could have thrown it aside or ignored it. Instead, you kept it safe. His lips curved slightly. It was not something one could ignore. That made her look down, her cheeks warm. Silence settled between them, not awkward, but careful. Ethan finally asked, "Did you get your suitcase back?" She nodded. Claire helped arrange everything. "It should be delivered to my apartment later today." "Good," he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her shoulders relax. Then his gaze shifted slightly, thoughtful. "Mia, may I ask you something? Something personal, but you can decline if you prefer." She hesitated. "All right. Your drawings," he said slowly. "There is a lot of heart in them. A lot of vulnerability. Where did that come from?" She exhaled softly, surprised by the question. Most people never asked where her art came from. They barely noticed it. She looked out the window for a moment, gathering courage. "I grew up in a small town. My mother has been sick for years, and I have been working as many jobs as I can to pay the bills. Art was always the one place I could breathe." Ethan listened without interrupting. Not judging, not pitying, just listening. "Your work carries both struggle and hope," he said. "That is rare." She laughed softly, but without humor. "Hope is expensive. I try to save a little of it for myself." His eyes softened further at that, as if those words pierced something in him. "You deserve more than scraps of hope, Mia." Before she could respond, Claire approached the table and lowered her voice. "Mr. Vale, your 11:30 meeting has been moved up. They are waiting." Ethan sighed, looking genuinely disappointed. "I understand." Claire stepped back discreetly. Ethan turned to Mia again. "I do not want this to be the end of the conversation. May I walk you out?" She nodded, surprised by the offer. They stepped out of the cafe and into the grand lobby, walking side by side. Mia tried not to stare at the towering chandeliers or the marble floors that gleamed like mirrors. At the entrance, Ethan stopped. "Mia, I meant what I said yesterday. You have real talent. If you ever need help preparing for your interview or putting together a portfolio, I would be honored to support you." She stared at him, speechless. No one had ever offered her that kind of help. "Why?" she whispered. His answer came without hesitation. "Because your art deserves to be seen. And because meeting you has been meaningful." Her chest tightened in a way she could not describe. She murmured a soft, emotional thank you. He gave her a gentle nod. "I will be in touch soon. Have a safe trip home, Mia." As she walked out into the cool morning air, she realized her life had just shifted, subtly but unmistakably. And she had no idea how deeply this man was about to rewrite her world. For the rest of the day, Mia could not stop replaying every moment from the cafe, every expression on Ethan's face, every word he spoke with that calm sincerity that felt impossible for someone in his position. Her real suitcase arrived by late afternoon, delivered by a hotel staff member who treated it with more respect than she ever could have imagined. As soon as the door closed behind him, she tore it open and hugged her sketchbook again, even though it had never truly left her side since Ethan returned it. She tried to draw, to lose herself in her lines and colors, but her mind kept drifting back to the way Ethan had looked at her. Not through her, not past her, but at her, like she mattered. By evening, she forced herself to go to her cafe shift, hoping the familiar routine would quiet her thoughts. The hiss of the espresso machine, the clinking of ceramic mugs, the hum of tired customers, it all should have grounded her. But her focus was scattered. When the bell above the door chimed, she looked up instinctively and froze. Ethan Vale, in a navy coat dusted with evening chill, stepped inside as if it were the most natural place in the world for him to be. Her co-worker whispered, "Who is that man? He looks like he owns the whole city." Mia could barely breathe. Ethan gave a polite smile to the staff and then walked straight to her counter. "Hi, Mia," he said, his voice warm in a way she felt all the way down to her knees. She swallowed. "Hi. I was not expecting to see you here. I finished my meetings early," he said. "I was nearby and thought I would stop by. If that is all right." She nodded quickly. "Yes, of course. What would you like?" "Whatever you recommend," he said. She made a latte with careful hands, concentrating on not spilling anything or burning the milk. When she handed it to him, he took a slow sip and smiled. "It is perfect." Something fluttered in her chest. He glanced around the small cafe, taking in the warm lights, the mismatched chairs, the old hardwood floor that creaked when anyone walked too heavily. "This place has a soul," he said. "It is cozy." "It is old," she corrected gently. "Old can be good," he replied. "Old means it has survived a lot." She stared at him, struck by how easily he could say something that felt both simple and profound. A customer walked in, pulling her attention away. She took orders, wiped counters, restocked cups, all while trying not to notice the way Ethan watched her, not in a possessive way, but in a present way, as if he wanted to understand the world she lived in. After her shift ended, she stepped outside to the cool night air and found him waiting on the sidewalk. Her breath caught again. "You did not have to wait." "I wanted to," he said softly. It looked like a long shift. She hugged her arms against the cold. "It always is." He hesitated before asking, "May I walk you home?" Her instinct was to refuse, not because she did not want him to, but because the gap between their worlds felt like a canyon she did not want him to fall into. "It is not a nice neighborhood," she warned gently. "I do not mind." She hesitated, then nodded. They walked side by side under the streetlights, passing shuttered shops and quiet intersections. The city felt different with him next to her, less heavy somehow, more alive. "Mia," he said after a moment, "I have been thinking about what you said earlier. About hope being expensive." She glanced at him. "I did not mean to sound dramatic." "You did not," he replied. "But I want you to know something. Hope should not be a luxury item. Not for anyone. And certainly not for someone with your kind of talent." She felt her throat tighten. "It is hard when everything feels like a fight." "Then you should not fight alone," Ethan said. He slowed his steps until she met his gaze. "Let me help you." She shook her head instinctively. "I do not want charity." His eyes softened. "It is not charity. It is belief." The words landed gently but deeply, like a warm hand placed over a trembling heart. They reached her apartment building, old brick with a flickering hallway light visible from the street. She felt suddenly self-conscious, but Ethan's expression never changed, never faltered. "Thank you for walking me," she whispered. "Thank you for letting me," he answered. He took one step back, but not away. "Mia, would you meet me again? Maybe this weekend." Her breath stilled. "Yes," she said quietly. "I would like that." Ethan's small smile was enough to melt any remaining doubt. "Good night, Mia." "Good night, Ethan." She watched him walk away, disappearing into the glow of the city, and realized her world was shifting again, piece by piece, towards something she had never dared to imagine. I have to admit, Mia barely slept the night after Ethan walked her home. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his expression in the glow of the streetlights, the way he had said, "It is not charity. It is belief," with a softness that felt impossible coming from a man who lived in a world built on power. By Saturday morning, she was pacing her apartment, straightening things that did not need straightening, washing a mug that was already clean, checking the time every few minutes as if it would magically move faster. He had texted her earlier. "If you are free, I would love to show you something today. I can pick you up anytime." She read the message at least 20 times before replying. "Yes. Noon is fine." At 11:59, a gentle knock sounded on her door. Her pulse jumped. She opened it to find Ethan standing there, dressed in a simple gray sweater and dark jeans, looking nothing like the mysterious millionaire she had seen online. He smiled. "Hi, Mia." "Hi," she breathed, suddenly aware of the peeling paint around her doorway and the dim light buzzing above her. But Ethan did not seem to notice any of it. His eyes were warm, grounded, completely focused on her. "Ready?" She nodded, locking the door behind her. Outside, instead of a limousine or some luxury car with tinted windows, Ethan led her to a modest black sedan. No chauffeur, no entourage. He opened the passenger door for her, and she slid in, surprised. "I expected the bigger car," she admitted softly. Ethan chuckled as he started the engine. "Sometimes simple is better. It makes the world feel less loud." They drove through the city in comfortable silence, warm sunlight spilling across the dashboard. The tension in Mia's shoulders slowly faded as the traffic lights flickered by. 10 minutes later, Ethan turned down a quiet street lined with small brick buildings and parked in front of an old warehouse with tall windows. Mia blinked. "What is this place?" "Come," he said, stepping out of the car. He unlocked the side door, and they walked inside. Mia gasped. It was an art space. A large, airy studio with high ceilings, natural light pouring in through the windows, and rows of canvases leaning against the walls. Paintbrushes, easels, materials, everything an artist could want filled the room. "This belongs to one of the community programs my company funds," Ethan explained. "It is usually used for workshops and public art initiatives, but today, it is yours." She stared at him. "Mine. For the day," he corrected gently. "I saw what you can do, Mia. I saw the heart in your lines. I thought, maybe you could use a place to breathe." Her throat tightened, emotion rising like a tide she could not control. "Ethan, I do not know what to say." "You do not have to say anything," he said with a smile that held both confidence and vulnerability. "Just paint. I will be right here if you need anything." He stepped back, giving her space, and Mia walked slowly to a blank canvas. For a moment, she just stood there, overwhelmed by the possibilities. Then she picked up a brush. Her hands moved instinctively, strokes flowing across the canvas as if something inside her had finally been unlatched. Time slipped away. Ethan watched from a small distance, leaning against a table, arms crossed loosely, his expression somewhere between admiration and awe. After an hour, she stepped back from her work, breath trembling. Ethan walked toward her slowly. "May I see?" She nodded. He studied the painting, a swirl of color, movement, and emotion, capturing a moment of quiet chaos that lived inside her. "It is beautiful," he said. "It feels alive." Mia wiped a smudge of paint from her cheek. "I have not had time or space to paint like this in years." "You should," Ethan replied. "You deserve this kind of room in your life." She looked at him, her voice softer than she expected. "Why are you doing all this for me?" He hesitated. Then he answered honestly. "Because you remind me of something I lost a long time ago." Her heart paused. "What did you lose?" Ethan's eyes lowered, shadowed by a memory. "My mother was an artist. She believed that people who create see the world in its truest form. When she passed, I stopped letting myself see anything except work." He lifted his gaze again, and there it was, that same quiet sincerity she had felt from the start. "You bring that light back. More than you know." Mia did not know how to respond. The room felt warm, too warm, filled with the beating of something shifting between them. Without thinking, she whispered, "I am glad I grabbed the wrong luggage." Ethan's smile widened, slow and real. "So am I." And in the stillness of that sunlit studio, something deeper than coincidence settled between them, quietly rewriting the path of both their lives. I have to be honest. If someone had told Mia a week ago that she would be standing in a sunlit art studio with a hidden millionaire watching her paint, she would have laughed, shaken her head, and gone back to serving lattes to strangers. But here she was, and the line between disbelief and reality had started to blur into something that felt dangerously close to hope. After hours in the studio, Ethan insisted on driving her home. They did not talk much during the ride, but the silence was not heavy. It was the kind of quiet that happens when two people are learning to exist comfortably in each other's presence. When they reached her apartment building, he walked her to the door again, hands in his pockets, shoulders slightly tense, as if he wanted to say something but did not know how. "Today meant a lot to me," she said softly. Ethan's eyes held hers. "It meant a lot to me too. More than you know." She did not sleep that night, her mind tangled with what she had felt when he looked at her in the studio, when he spoke about his mother, when he watched her paint as if the world had stopped just to let her breathe. But she also felt something else, something she was not ready to name. The next morning, the city felt colder. She wrapped her scarf tighter as she headed to the cafe for her shift. As she reached the door, her coworker Harper rushed out, wide-eyed. "Mia, have you seen the news?" "What news?" Harper shoved her phone forward. On the screen was a picture of Ethan walking into a building, surrounded by reporters. The headline read, "Hidden Heir Ethan Vale to be honored at City Art Foundation Gala." Mia stared. "A gala?" Her stomach tightened. Harper whispered, "Is that the guy who came here the other night? The one who stared at you like you hung the moon?" "Harper," Mia hissed, flushing. "Stop." But she could not shake the unease building inside her. Ethan had said he kept a low profile. He had said he disliked attention. But if he was being honored at a gala, how many people would be there? How public would it be? And would someone like her ever fit in a world like that? She spent her shift distracted, spilling sugar packets, mixing up orders, nearly dropping a tray. Harper finally nudged her. "Go take 5. You look like you are about to faint. Outside, Mia leaned against the brick wall of the cafe and exhaled. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Good morning, Mia. I was wondering if you would like to meet this evening. There is something important I want to talk to you about. Her heart jumped. Important. That could mean anything. She typed back, yes. What time? 7. I will pick you up. The rest of the day felt endless. By the time 7 approached, Mia was pacing again. When Ethan's soft knock came, she nearly tripped getting to the door. He stood there, dressed simply again, but there was a seriousness in his eyes she had not seen before. Are you all right? She asked immediately. Yes, he said, although the tension in his shoulders said otherwise. There is something I need to tell you, and I want you to hear it from me, not from the internet. Her breath caught. He gestured toward the street. Come on, let us walk. They strolled down the sidewalk, passing street lamps whose light flickered like small trembling stars. Ethan took a breath. Mia, the gala you may have seen on the news. I am one of the guests being honored. I saw, she whispered, and I wanted to explain why I did not mention it sooner. He looked ahead, not at her. I have spent most of my life avoiding events like that. My father loved them. He believed appearances mattered more than anything else. I wanted nothing to do with that world. But the foundation supporting young artists, it was my mother's dream. They are honoring her work as much as mine. Mia's chest softened at the mention of his mother. Ethan continued quietly. I did not want to tell you because I did not want you to see me the way everyone else does. She stopped walking. And how does everyone else see you? Ethan finally met her gaze, his voice fragile in a way she had never heard. As a name, a fortune, an obligation. Her breath trembled. And how do you want me to see you? For a moment, he looked like he did not know how to answer. Then, with an honesty that landed like a heartbeat in the cold air, he whispered, as a man who met you by accident, but does not want to let you go. The street felt suddenly silent, as if the whole world paused between them. But before Mia could speak, a flash went off across the street. They both turned sharply. A camera. A photographer. Someone had just taken their picture. Ethan's expression shifted instantly, protective, tense, but Mia felt something colder. A realization crawling up her spine. Her world, once simple and invisible, was about to collide with his in the loudest, most public way possible. I have to be honest, the flash of that camera felt like a lightning strike across Mia's quiet world, ripping open a reality she never asked to enter. She froze on the sidewalk, the cold air suddenly sharper, heavier, almost metallic against her skin. Ethan stepped forward instinctively, positioning himself between her and the distant photographer, but the damage was already done. Whoever that person was, they had captured a moment that did not belong to them. A moment that felt private, fragile. Mia, are you all right? Ethan asked, his voice low, steady, but there was tension under the surface. She swallowed hard. I do not know. The photographer disappeared down the street, melting into the shadows like someone slipping away with a secret. Ethan let out a frustrated breath, running a hand through his hair. I am sorry. This is exactly what I wanted to avoid. She hugged her arms around herself, anxiety tightening her chest. Is this normal for you? Unfortunately, yes, Ethan admitted. But it should not be. And it definitely should not touch your life. They walked the rest of the block in silence until they reached a small park illuminated by soft amber lights. The branches overhead swayed gently, casting moving shadows across the path. Mia sat on a bench, trying to gather her thoughts. Ethan stood for a moment before sitting beside her, leaving just enough space to respect whatever she might be feeling. Talk to me, he said quietly. She exhaled shakily. Ethan, I work at a cafe. I live in a tiny apartment. I am barely holding my life together. I am trying to take care of my mother and keep my own head above water. I cannot afford to get dragged into something big, loud, and overwhelming. I understand, he whispered. I really do. People like me do not end up in newspapers, she continued, her voice cracking. People like you do. And if they took a picture, what will they say? What will your world do with that? Ethan turned toward her fully now, his expression raw. I do not care what they say. But they will care, Mia whispered. And they will pick me apart without knowing anything about me. Ethan shook his head, but she could see the faint shadow of truth in his eyes. She looked away, her voice barely audible. I just need time. He nodded slowly. Then I will give you time. As much as you need. But even with his reassurance, a weight settled in her chest, a fear she could not calm. And that fear grew heavier the next morning, when she arrived at work and found Harper shoving a phone under her nose. "Mia, you need to see this." On the screen was a gossip article. Hidden heir Ethan Vale seen with unknown woman. Mystery date before art gala. Below it, grainy but recognizable, was the photo. Ethan looking protective, Mia looking stunned. Mia's stomach twisted painfully. She put the phone down, her hands trembling. Harper said gently, "Are you going to talk to him?" "I do not know," Mia whispered. "I am scared." But the decision was made for her when her phone buzzed with a message. "Ethan, I saw the article. Please meet me today. I want to make this right." She stared at the screen for a long moment before typing back one word. "Where?" He replied almost immediately. "The studio." The same studio he had opened just for her. The same place where she had felt safe, seen, understood. Now it felt like the only place she could hear him without the world watching. When she arrived, Ethan was already inside, standing near one of the tall windows, the morning light casting long shadows across the floor. He turned the moment he heard the door open. "Mia." His voice held both relief and worry. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "I saw the article." "I know," he said softly. "And I am sorry." She swallowed hard. I do not fit in your world. And now I am part of a story I never agreed to be in." Ethan took a step closer, his eyes steady. "Then let me change the story." She looked at him, confused. Without breaking eye contact, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small and familiar. Her sketchbook, but not the worn cover she was used to seeing. This time, it had been carefully restored, its corners reinforced, its pages protected, as if it were something precious. He held it out to her. "Last night, after everything happened, I thought about the person you are. Someone who gives meaning to the smallest things. Someone who paints the world even when it is unkind to her." Her breath trembled. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He took another step closer. "Mia, you said you did not belong in my world. Maybe you are right. Maybe my world is the wrong one. Maybe I should be standing in yours." Her heart pounded. "What does that mean?" Ethan exhaled lightly, emotion flickering in his eyes. "It means I want to be with you. And I am willing to face whatever noise comes with that. But only if you want it to." The studio went still. The city outside went quiet. The only thing that moved was her heartbeat, loud and terrified and hopeful all at once. Because now the choice was hers. For a long moment, Mia could not speak. The air in the studio felt thick with something she had never been offered before, something heavier than love and deeper than fear. It was choice. Her choice. She looked at Ethan, really looked at him, standing there not as a millionaire or a headline or a man surrounded by noise, but as someone who had gently stepped into her world piece by piece, without forcing her to be anything other than herself. "Ethan," she whispered, "I am scared." His expression softened instantly. "So am I." She blinked, surprised. "You are?" "Of course," he said with a quiet laugh. "I have spent my entire life being seen as everything except a person. And then you showed up with the wrong luggage, and suddenly I wanted to be seen in a way I have never wanted before." Her heart thudded, aching. "But the article, the cameras, the attention, I do not know how to handle all of that." Ethan stepped closer, close enough for her to feel the slow, steady warmth radiating from him. "Then let me take the noise. Let me handle the parts that scare you. You only need to choose if you want me in your life." She looked down at the restored sketchbook in her hands. The edges were smooth. The pages were protected. Someone had treated it with care. Someone who understood what it meant to her. Someone who saw her. When she looked up again, her eyes were steady. "Ethan," she whispered, "I want to be with you. But not in the shadows. And not as someone the world assumes I am. I want to be with you honestly." His breath hitched just slightly, a sign that her words mattered more than she realized. "Then honestly," he said, "I want to be with you too." The tension in the room loosened, unwinding like a knot that had been pulled too tightly for too long. Ethan reached for her hand, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She did not. Their fingers intertwined, warm and certain, and for the first time since the photographer's flash, the world felt quiet again. "There is something else," Ethan added softly. "Tomorrow is the Art Foundation Gala. They will be honoring my mother and the programs she helped inspire. I want you there with me." She froze again. "Ethan." Not as a headline, he said gently. Not as a mystery woman. As my guest. As someone whose talent deserves to be in a room full of art. She exhaled shakily. I do not own anything suitable for a gala. Ethan smiled, a soft curve of understanding. I took the liberty of preparing something. He crossed the studio to a small wardrobe she had not noticed before. From inside, he pulled out a simple but elegant dress in a soft shade of midnight blue, a dress that looked like it had been chosen for its quiet beauty rather than extravagance. This, he said, if you want it. Mia touched the fabric. It felt like it belonged to a world she had never been allowed to touch. You did all this for me. I did it because you deserve to stand in the light, Ethan said. And I want to stand there with you. Her throat tightened. She whispered, then yes. I will go. The next evening, the gala was held in a grand hall filled with golden lights and soft music. Reporters waited outside, cameras flashing, names being shouted, but when Mia stepped out of the car with Ethan beside her, his hand steady at her back, a strange calm washed over her. For once, she did not feel like she was pretending. Inside the hall, art pieces filled the walls, including a special exhibit dedicated to Ethan's mother. As they walked through, he whispered stories about her, how she used to sketch on napkins, how she believed every person carried a hidden masterpiece inside them. She would have loved your work, Ethan said quietly, and she would have wanted you to chase your dreams. Mia felt tears prick her eyes. Ethan, thank you for everything. He gently squeezed her hand. Do not thank me yet. They reached the center of the room, where a small crowd had begun to gather. Mia frowned, confused, until she saw it. Her sketch, one of her paintings from the studio, framed, illuminated, displayed as part of the gala. Her breath shattered into a soft gasp. Ethan, what is this? A beginning, he said. Your beginning. The plaque beneath the frame read, Midnight Mistake, a study of hope by Mia Rowan. Her knees went weak. She whispered, you did not have to do this. I did, he said. Because the world needs to see what I saw the moment I opened your sketchbook. Emotion flooded her, warm and overwhelming. She turned to him, and in that moment, surrounded by art and light and possibilities she had never dared to believe in, Mia reached up and kissed him. Soft, certain, real. When they pulled apart, he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and murmured, you picked up the wrong luggage that night. She smiled through tears. Or the right man. The gala lights shimmered above them as if the universe itself was nodding in agreement. And for the first time in her life, Mia felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be, standing beside Ethan Vale, not by accident, but by choice, by courage, and by a love that had grown from the simplest mistake into the most beautiful truth.